What's up, my friends, and good evening. Welcome to the Carpo After Dark podcast. I guess that's what you would call it, since I'm actually standing outside with my phone pointing down. And that's why I call this After Dark. It's just the same as any other video I make. Only difference is I'm staring out at the world instead of a camera. And let me tell you, there's a big difference. A lot of folks do their videos in their house or in their garage, wherever they can. Some people do them outside, but they're still looking at their camera, and that's me usually. And when I come outside and make a video, I can look around at the houses, at the trees, and I become very much more inspired. So I feel like it's one of my favorite types of videos to do here. And I usually don't have a point to start out with, and this isn't any exception in this case. I've been thinking about a lot of things lately. It's the holidays. It's just after Christmas. I made a video the other day talking about my view of the politics of the holidays, if you will. And really, even though this year I didn't have all the things I wanted for people, I didn't stress about it. And, I have no expectations of anyone to get me anything. And I'm still have the attitude that every gift I get is just amazing to me, whether it be a pair of socks or otherwise. In other words, I'm still grateful for everything that comes my way in life. And I don't overlook the small things. Everything really matters to me. And I'm not talking about just gifts. I'm talking about really embracing life when it comes to you. Because it's coming to you whether you want it or not. And, I had a friend over the other day and we were talking about depression and the mind-body connection. Because he has stomach problems, colitis, which ulcerative colitis causes him to have all kinds of problems with his mental well-being, and it really put into perspective, a good friend of mine who I know is suffering, that I'm not suffering, and it almost makes me feel guilty to be happy, to admit the fact that I'm happy and I have a very content state of mind almost all the time. It doesn't mean that I don't have angry moments or get pissed at my kids, because let me tell you, there are a lot of reasons for people to be upset or have a bad day. But, if you're single and you don't have kids and you're letting life get to you, you're missing the freedoms you really have. Because when you have children, you give up everything. If your boss pisses you off, you can quit your job if you really want to. If your spouse angers you, that's a little more difficult because, you want to work that out. But you can walk away from it for a while. When it comes to the kids, if they tell you to fuck off, Dad, you deal with it. You have to figure out how to deal with it at the moment. And, you're programming your little computers, if you will, and I hate to use that term because that's basically what we are. What our parents teach us is what we're programmed to believe. And that's why I'm being very careful to give my son, all of my sons, the space to grow. One is 4 and one is 7, but also one is 22. And he's come a long way, and he's very intelligent. We had a deep conversation today about what I believe to be the brain of the universe, the neural network that makes life what it is. And I was trying to explain to him my views of why evolution is too amazing to be by chance, and why it's utterly preposterous for anyone to propose that the universe came about by chance and has no intentions. It doesn't mean that we can prove otherwise. It just means that's how I feel. After all of the careful observations I've made about life and the connectedness of it, it seems that there's an underlying mechanism or web which we don't understand. And that's with that knowledge, with that knowing, and that's something that I truly believe is knowledge, that the universe is conscious. I don't know how, I don't know why, or where it comes from, or where it's going. But those problems aren't for me. I'm not concerned with those. Those are bigger than my life. What matters to me is, can I see the universe for what it is and be part of it and be happy? Because it doesn't matter what we can prove or not prove. It doesn't matter what we think we are or who we think we should be. What matters is who we are now, how we act in our day-to-day activities, how we treat one another, and how we truly feel. Because if you go out and you play the game all day, and you have a plastic smile, and you bullshit people into thinking that you're really doing okay, and then you go home and you cry all night on your pillow, you're missing it. You're missing the whole point. Don't be a fake, Let people know how you feel, because that's the only way we're going to get better. Being honest is difficult. For me to even sit here and make a video, I can talk about, hey, other people, if you feel this way, do this. But it's a lot harder for me to admit that I have a whole bunch of faults, which I do, that I'm working on continuously and trying to improve my life, trying to improve the little things that, most of the damage I do isn't to other people. There are folks out there who will do anything to get a dollar, make a buck off of somebody else, even a friend, rip somebody off. I'm not that kind of person. If anything, I rip myself off because, I need to get some dental work done, and I'm frightened to go to the dentist, and I don't have the money, so I put it off for way too long. Causes me problems. I can't eat very well, and I know that that's something I could fix easily, but there's too many concerns and issues with, my fear of dentistry and my high tolerance to Novocaine, and I could be put out, but I don't have any insurance, and on and on. It's not about that. It's about just a matter of doing it. And so many other little things that I need to take care of in my life. And I only say that because I don't want to stand here and say, hey, you should be happy. What I'm saying is that you should be happy with what you have and realize that as long as we're looking for external happiness from another source outside of ourselves and our knowledge, we will always fail. And that's something that you can see throughout all different types of cultural belief systems, religions. Look at all the successes in life and ask yourself, who are your true heroes? Who are the people who have really moved you? Not in your life personally, but the people you've read about, who you've admired. And ask yourself, are any of those cutthroat, go-getter businessman type? And if so, then maybe that's for you. Maybe you're one of those people who can go out and do that and be brutal. I, for one, can't. I can't do anything that harms another human being. I could never even punch another person unless I was defending myself. And I would if I had to, and I have, but my intentions are good. I love people. I love life. And I want to make sure that I can share that with as many people as possible before I die, because there are so many people out there who are having a really bad time right now. And those are the people that I hope I can get through to sometimes. To say, you're not alone. And I know that some people cannot change that just because a person says something. And I realize most people can't. It's difficult. It takes a long time to change your mind. But I want folks to realize that there is nobody out there in this world that's fucking immune to problems. And I've realized that a lot of folks make it seem that way. Everything from cigarette and alcohol advertisements to Facebook posts to just our own idea and creation in our head about what's going on. We think that other people have these fantastic lives. They go to work and they dance around and love their jobs and come home and have the great family and everything's perfect. Their kids listen. And we might go to visit a friend when we don't have a lot of friends and see that their family seems like, wow, they're all happy. Everybody's doing well. And the minute you leave, the kids start screaming. The husband and wife are fighting about something dumb and irrelevant. Nobody is immune to the problems of life. Maybe there are some. And I guess I shouldn't say nobody. But I guess what I mean is the average person is not immune. But there are people who are immune to the problems, and that's what I want to be in my life. I want to be immune to the problems that life has to offer. Because I don't have expectations and I don't look for external happiness. Now, I should draw the line here at codependency relationships, because we're not looking for external relationships just to make us happy, but we are looking at them to supplement and enhance our already existing lifestyles. Someone was talking earlier, I can't remember where, about, I believe it was a Facebook post somebody made about how, they hope that women can complement a man. And this could go, of course, man on man, woman on woman, whatever. It's a matter of a significant other that you can share your intimate thoughts with, who understands you and knows you, and how important that is, and how we should really support that. And I was in complete agreement in the sense that, I've been with my wife since 1998. We met around Christmas time. Actually, I believe that, it was the 28th. If I'm not mistaken, today is our actual anniversary date. We went out on the 31st too, but it was the 28th when we first kind of hung out interesting. So here we are. And it was 18 years ago today, I believe, that we met. And it was a fascinating 16, 18 years that we've had together. We've been married for almost 4 now, I think. And, whatever. Time goes by, it becomes irrelevant. You've been together a long time. And I love my wife. We have helped each other so much. She doesn't give herself enough credit, perhaps, for being the deep thinker she really is compared to a lot of people I've met. And she really understands things, but I'm almost envious of her because she has just a knowing. She has the motherly instinct. She knows what people need. She knows how to make people happy and cater to them in the sense of, understanding their emotions. And I, being a man, have a harder time with that. I'm fighting against my natural instinct to just kind of be a man, And I realize that men have a bad reputation with a lot of women, and that's understood. Take a drink and a vape pull here. But my wife has complimented me greatly in my life. She's assisted me through some really rough times in my life, and looking back, it's difficult in retrospect to see where we've come from. But I've suffered some hardcore moments where I was depressed and anxious and didn't even realize it. And even into today, I'll probably look back in retrospect on today and think I was depressed compared to later, because I'm always looking to improve my state of mind and mood. I don't expect to be one of those people who pretends like they're happy all the time. You take a guy like Robin Williams, for example. I guess he's a good metaphor for what I'm explaining. Some of his friends that knew him, they said, he seemed like he was always happy. And those people are just ignorant. They don't get it. Anyone who acts happy all that time has something to hide. We all have problems. Nobody is a comedian through their whole life. We all go home, and I hate to say it this way, but we take a shit and a shower and a shave, and we sit and stare at ourselves in the mirror, and we go to bed and we masturbate, we wake up, we go to work. We do all the same shit that everybody else does. And we try to pretend like it's not happening. That there are some people who are really these superhumans that don't bend to the will of nature, but that ain't the way it is. And that ain't the way I see it. When I'm standing here looking at this tree, probably wouldn't be able to even show it on camera if I wanted to. No, it's behind that light. But, staring at nature and looking at the patterns, and then looking at mankind's patterns, like the lights across the street on the house, and just seeing everything and how it all fits together, that's what moves me. I don't see us as humans as separate from nature anymore. Although when I was younger, I kind of bought into this idea that humans don't belong, that we're a scourge, that we're a cancer, and I say, no, that's ridiculous. We're not better than nature, but we are the consciousness that can imitate nature. Almost as if the universal consciousness is imitating something that it knows. And that's getting pretty deep into the philosophy of God, I guess, but the universe, if there is a blueprint or a pattern, my question, I guess, would be even deeper. Where does that pattern emerge from? How does the universe or a consciousness create without having something of previous experience to draw on? And for all we know, the universe could go back quadrillions of years. It could go back infinite. It truly could be infinite, which means that there's no beginning and no end, because if creation and existence is infinite, then all we are is a small bleep in time. And to think that this earth, and believe this, people, only in the last 100 years or so have we really gained the knowledge to realize that humans as exist now have only been around for, say, 20,000 years, tops. Before that, we could create small musical instruments and flutes, and we had small communities, but the ability to gain intelligence and develop computers, I know there are a lot of theories that humans existed and there was Atlantis and much intelligence. I believe that there were massive knowledge bases that were lost to time through the library. Alexandria was just one example, but all through history, things that we don't even record or never have recorded. Sure, there have been lost knowledges, but as for today, the ability for any human to tap into this internet, that's something different than the ability maybe for humans to be psychic or whatnot. This is different. if you want to talk about Akasha, which is like this universal record holding of everything, it may very well be a metaphor for the internet, or maybe vice versa. That the internet is really our modern day Akasha, to tap into the records of everything that's happened. And what's important about that is to look back at all the philosophers that came before us, all the texts that they've written, which, on a side note, one of the most amazing things about that is that most of the ancient philosophy and ideas and records are all free online. But that modern education charges you hundreds of dollars to access certain ideas and theories and books by certain modern scholars, whereas the ancients already thought these things through for thousands of years. So just think about that for a minute. We want to take a class at a school with a highly respected, let's say, teacher, instructor, professor, but all they're doing is repeating history that they've read to us. The only thing that somebody else can offer us as far as knowledge is their own experience. And if you're listening to a 30-year-old professor and you're a 60-year-old person, and the 30-year-old professor's never done anything with their life, went to Harvard, had fun, and they don't really understand life itself, then teaching you philosophy is going to be a complete joke. And I'm using that as just kind of a rough example that, philosophy to me is a joke in television. In schooling. I don't know why television came into mind, but that's what it seems very synthetic, very artificial. Researching what other philosophers have thought, unless you're applying it to daily life and applying it to your own vast accumulation of knowledge, which, I won't deny, I have a lot of knowledge and I want to gain more. I'm only 40 years old. I just turned 41 actually. And by the time I'm 60, I expect to know a hell of a lot of stuff. It doesn't matter what happens to the world around me. I will continue to learn everything I can about how things work. If I want to know something, I look it up. And the more people that do that, the more people that are aware, I just want to leave on this note that something I've noticed in life is about, 5-6 years ago, I talked to a few people who were talking about how too much knowledge can almost be overwhelming and can clog your mind or clutter your thinking. I want people to know that I completely agree with that. But I want you to picture it as if you're feeding a bunch of... I guess I can't think of a good metaphor for it. You're feeding a shitload of information into your mind. You're seeing that there's a lot of corruption and greed, but you're also seeing there's a lot of hope. You don't know whether to feel sad or happy. You don't know whether to act out or to stand back and do your own thing. And then you either opt out of it and just go back to living life, or you continue to learn. And if you continue to learn and you choose to work past this weakness, the weakness comes from having all this knowledge but not being able to connect it yet. And then one day, all of a sudden, things start connecting. And I gotta say that psychedelic journeys have helped that for me, but mostly it's been a lot of research when I want to connect things that I've learned. And between psychedelics and research, I've come to the conclusions that I have about life existing the way that it does and what really matters. I've understood that we hallucinate as humans, that we create realities in our mind that may or may not be true, that we delude ourselves constantly, but that's okay sometimes, that the people who seem to rebel against those who believe in God, let's say, seem to be more angry and upset in life in general than those who actually believe in God. And that leads me to believe that being an atheist can be more painful or dangerous than being religious or a Christian, but I'm neither. And just observing people trying to tie down their beliefs and affirm one thing or another. Let me just say that affirmation is the key to unhappiness. Trying to affirm anything you believe or trying to affirm yourself to others is a failure. If others are treating you like crap and you're trying to gain respect, then you're doing something wrong. You either need to demand respect or you need to earn respect by working towards it, but you can't just ask for it and feel guilty. And that's what's happening. Our society has become a victim-based society. Someone picks on somebody and all of a sudden it's racist or it's sexist, misogynist. You've got to opt out of all of that and walk away from it and just be who you are. and not let those things affect you. You know, I had a friend who said that his New Year's resolution is to not let other people's petty shit affect him anymore because he's very sensitive and it bothers him. And I said, you know, that's good. Because if you're sensitive in today's world, you know, then you're going to get tread on. And that's just the reality of it. You can't win. You can't win by acting like a victim, and you can't win by, you know, pussyfooting around things. You have to actually step up and take charge and speak it like it is. It may be painful. It may not be beautiful. And you may seem like an asshole. But that's the reality of the life we live. It's complicated. So, I'd like to wish you all the happiest of New Year's. I'll probably talk to you before then, so have a wonderful day.